ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं मवामहे कविं कवीनाम् उपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नुतिभिस्सीदसादनं महागणपतये नमः प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रेवतु महासरस्वत्यै नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः गुरुवे सर्वलोकानां ऋषिजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः अस्मिन् गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। देवीं वाचमजनयन्त देवाः तां विश्वरूपा पशवो वदन्ति सा नो मन्दिरेषु मूर्जन्दुहाना धेनुर्वागस्मानुपतिष्ठितयतु व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्ते पौत्रमकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकदातं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। शिवशक्तिसमारम्भां भास्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मत्श्रीनाथपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रीललितामहात्रिपुरसुन्दरी समेत श्रीचन्द्रमौळीश्वराय नमः। श्रीकाञ्चीकामकोटिपीठाधिपतिजगद्गुरु श्रीशङ्कराचार्य श्रीचरणयोः प्रणामाः। स्वस्ति श्रीमदखिलभूमण्डलालङ्कारस्त्रयत्रिंशत्कोटिदेवता सेवित श्रीकामाक्षी देवी सनाथ श्रीमदेकाम्रनाथ श्रीमहादेवी सनाथ श्रीहस्तगिरिनाथ साक्षात्कार परमाधिष्ठान नित्यवतनामाङ्कितकाञ्ची दिव्यक्षेत्रे शारदा वडसस्थितानाम् अतुलितदारसमाधुर्य कमलासनकामिनी धम्मिल्लसम्भुल्लमल्लिका मालिका निष्यन्दमकरन्दझरी सौवस्तिकवाग्निकुम्भ विजृम्भणानन्दतुन्दितविनीशमण्डलानाम् अनवरताद्वैतविद्याविनोदरसिकानां निरन्तरालङ्कृतीकृतशान्तिदान्तिभूम्नां सकलभुवनचक्रप्रतिष्ठापक श्रीचक्रप्रतिष्ठाविख्यात यशोऽलङ्कृतानां निखिलभाषण्डषण्डकण्ठकोद्घाटनेन विशदीकृतवेदवेदान्तमार्गशन्मतप्रतिष्ठापकाचार्याणां श्रीमत्परमहंसपरिव्राजकाचार्यवर्य श्रीमज्जगद्गुरु श्रीमच्छङ्करभगवत्पादाचार्याणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमच्चन्द्रशेखरेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अधिष्ठाने सिंहासनाभिषिक्त श्रीमज्जयेन्द्र सरस्वती संयमीन्द्राणाम् अन्तेवासिवर्य श्रीमशङ्करविजयेन्द्र सरस्वती श्रीपादानां च चरणधर्मयोः सप्तश्रियं साञ्जलिबन्धं नमस्कुर्मः. So good. So quickly, welcome back. I think we had a nice one week break. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the mantra 4 and 5, which I've shared the script. Right. So mantra number 4 is very interesting, and mantra number 5. So number 4 is again second Mundaka first chapter is Agnir Murdha Chakshushi Chandra Suryau Dishah Shrotre Vag Vivrutascha Vedaha Vayu Prano Hridayam Vishwamasya Padbhyam Prithvi Hyesha Sarvabhutantaratma Bhuta Antaratma. So again, Agnir Murdha Chakshishim Chandra Suryau Dishashrotre Vag Vivrutascha Vedaha Vayuh Prano Hridayam Vishwamasya Padbhyam Prithvi Hyesha Sarvabhutantaratma. So Agni is again, we all know, is fire. Asya means his. Murdha is head. Chandra Suryav, the sun and the moon, or moon and the sun. Yeah, Usha, yeah. Yeah. Is it the same for everybody?
No, it's absolutely clear for me.
Your voice is not mostly. Yes, you have a sore throat thing.
No, I think Kushama, your voice is also breaking for us.
Yeah, your voice is breaking. So you just try to log out and log back in, join back in.
Okay, I'm trying.
Is it better now?
I'm doing one thing. I'll try on the phone.
Yeah. Mute here. Otherwise, if both the audio will resonate.
Log out something.
Okay. So in the meantime, we had a fantastic opportunity to witness Sri Mahaperiva Manivandapam Mahakumbhabhishekam. Something that the team has been working on tirelessly for nearly about 8 to 10 years. It's a living example that you never tire or give up in life if you want to really see fruits of happiness. There's such a sight. More than 1,500 people came. I don't know
Is it
whether
a
you.
bit clear?
Is it better now, Usha? Much better. Okay, great. So I just stopped where I said Chandra Surya means moon and the sun. Chakshushi means the two eyes. Dishaha obviously is, we all know, the directions or quarters of the sky. Shrotre, the 2 ears. Vivrutaha, emanated. Vedaha is obviously Vedas. Cha means and. Vak is speech. Vayuhu is air. Pranaha is breath. Hridayam, heart. Vishwam is the universe. Asya, his. Padbhyam means from feet. Prithvi is again the earth. Jata is originated. He means verily. Epaha, this. Sarve palm, of all. Bhutanam, beings. Antaratma means the inner self. So, to summarize, this mantra says fire is his head, the moon and the sun are his two eyes, the four directions are the ears, the emanated Vedas are his speech, his breath is the air or what we call as Vayu, the universe is his heart, and from his feet the earth originated. Verily, he is the inner self of all beings. Once again, fire is his head, the moon and the sun are his two eyes, the four directions are his ears, the emanated Vedas are his speech, his breath is air, the universe is his heart, and from his feet the earth originated. Verily, he is the inner self of all beings. This is the meaning of this mantra. So, in this case, when we start with Agnir Murdha, There is also an interpretation that it is more referencing to Dyulokaha. Keep the terms in mind. Dyulokaha, which is heaven. And as you see, there are many terms that we probably need to understand in depth and make sure that each of the term is well understood. So let me take the mantra number 5 and give the meaning for mantra number 5. And then I will go back to a quick recap of what we discussed about Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, and Virat. And then I will try to connect some of the things that we have learned in the past so that you have an easy flow and you're able to say, how do I connect all the dots? As I get more and more terms, how do I understand these terms and how can I start visualizing all of these things in my head, right? So mantra number 5 is Tasmadagnihi Samidho Yasya Suryah. Tasmadagnihi Samidho Yasya Suryah Somat Parjanya Oshadhayah Prithivyaam. Somat Parjanya Oshadhayah Prithivyaam Puman Retah Sinchati Yoshitayam Bahvihi Prajaha Purushat Samprasutaha. So Tasmat means from him. Agni, literal meaning is fire, but the reference is to heaven. Do you remember what term I used for heaven? I just used a term for heaven. Huh?
You said Dvilokaha or
Dyulokaha. Correct. Super. See, if you pay attention, it is not a difficult thing to remember. Dyulokaha. Jataha is originated. Suryaha is sun. Yasya means whose. Samidha means fuel. Somat, from the moon. Parjanyah is referencing cloud. Sambhavati means arises. Prithivyam, on earth. Prithvi is earth. Prithivyam is on earth. Oshadhayah. Can anybody guess what it could mean? We have pharma expert in the group.
Herbs.
Correct. Very good. Oshadhayah is herbs. Bhavanti is grow. Puman is man. Yoshitayam, into woman. Yoshitayam, into woman. Retah is semen. Retah is semen. Sinchati, casts or pores. Evam kramena means by this process. Purushat, from the Purusha. Purushat means from the Purusha. Bahvihi, many. Prajaha is reference to living beings. Samprasutaha means are born. So, if you take the summary of this individual, it is from him comes the Agni or heaven, whose fuel is the sun. Whose fuel is the sun. From the moon arises clouds. Herbs grow on the earth. Man casts semen into a woman. And by this process, many living beings are born of the Purusha. Did you all get this? I'll just quickly repeat. From him comes the Agni or the heaven. Usha, are you able to get it? Or okay, fine. From him comes the Agni or the heaven, whose fuel is the sun. From the moon arises the clouds. Herbs grow on the earth. The man casts semen into woman. And by this process, many living beings are born of the Purusha. So what is being described here is a gradual process of the origin of all beings from the one Purusha. The argument is very, very simple. From the Purusha has originated the Dyuloka. From the Purusha has originated the Dyuloka, the heaven. And from the moon, in the Dyuloka, the clouds. Rains dropping from the clouds on earth produce plants and herbs. So I'm going very slow so that you are able to visualize the sequence. Remember, we said the Nirguna Brahman is the origin. Nothing created the Nirguna Brahman. Nirguna Brahman existed. From there, the Saguna Brahman. And I will go into the Ishvara Hiranyagarbha one more time. And from there, the Panchabhutas. Then the significance of those Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas, etc. So we need to understand the sequence, how this whole thing has developed. So from the Purusha originated the Dyuloka or the heaven, and from the moon in the Dyuloka, the clouds. Rains dropping from the clouds on earth produce the plants and herbs. Men living on this planet secretes semen. The semen again have fallen into the womb of a woman, producing living beings. Thus, Purusha is the final cause of the origin of beings. Now you can imagine this as a support system. If you're talking of living beings, without this light, fire, water, all the Panchabhutas and the plants and herbs, we wouldn't be able to sustain, right? Just having human beings on planet Earth, imagine it's a barren land, just full of rocks and stones. No resources, no minerals, no herbs, no plants, no vegetables. Can we sustain? I don't think so, right? So the whole ecosystem is created from him. So we say that Purusha is the final cause of the origin of beings. The sun is called the fuel because you're on mute.
He gives energy.
Yeah, Usha, you're on mute again. You're on mute. No, you're still on mute. You're still on mute. So, I'm giving a clue. We said the two eyes are Chandra Surya. So, in that context, imagine why sun is called the fuel. In mantra number 5, we said Dyuloka is a reference to the heaven, which is the moon. From the Dyuloka, the clouds arise, right? So where does the moon get the light from? It is from the sun.
The sun, obviously.
Yes, so that is why it is called the fuel, right? Because of the light from the sun, the moon is lighted. So, are you okay with both the meanings, literal meanings of both the mantras? Sonalji, are you okay? I hope I didn't go too fast. Okay, and Radha, if she's listening. Usha, you're okay?
Yes, yeah, please tell.
Okay. So now I'm trying to connect this with more detailed explanation of the other terms in itself so that you are able to connect the dots. Instead of saying I'm trying to visualize and imagine and understand so many ambiguous terms. How many of you remember the explanation that I had given about Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, and Virat?
Um, Ishvara is the unmanifested form of
Correct,
the god, while Hiranyagarbha is the subtle form,
right?
and Virat is the more gross form of the.
Super. See, keep it simple. It's all clearly understood. Now, slightly expand on that. So, we all kept saying Nirguna Brahman, Nirguna Brahman. How does the Nirguna Brahman become the Saguna Brahman? What is that key word that differentiates?
The form.
Okay, that is very common, but what makes it Saguna Brahman?
Is it Maya?
Perfect.
Okay, Maya.
So this is how simple it can get. The moment the Nirguna Brahman gets the desire to become many, and the power of Maya or illusion is attached, you get Saguna Brahman. What does Maya is composed of?
Gunas.
Perfect. Sonalji is in full form today. And you thought that it is very difficult for you to not to be able to understand these things, right? So if you just keep it simple and take notes in the hierarchical form, you'll be able to understand these things. So what are the three gunas?
Rajas,
Sattva, Rajas, Tamo. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So when the Brahman has the power of Maya, is called Ishvara or Saguna Brahman. Now, whatever we are talking of in the cosmos, the whole definition that I'm talking about, you need to shuttle between the cosmos, the macrocosm, and us, the microcosm. Exactly the same. So there, if we talk of head, here we talk of head. There we talk of feet, here we talk of feet. There we talk of garbha, here we talk of garbha. Is that easy to follow? Okay, good. So there we call it as Ishvara. Here we call it as
Jiva.
perfect. Oh, it's so simple, Kumar. You know, why are you asking the same question again and again? Good. So now don't get lost into various interpretations or various schools of Vedanta trying to interpret it in different ways. You just keep this definition simple, get mastery over this, anchor this as your base learning, and then you make an attempt to delve into how different schools of Vedanta have approached the same thing, right? So predominantly, majority of the people follow Advaita. There are many people who follow Dvaita, which is again the guru is Madhvacharya. And there are plenty of people that follow Visishtadvaita, again Sri Ramanujacharya. So Visishtadvaita is nothing but a hybrid model of Dvaita and Advaita. So in Advaita, Dva means two, Advaita means non-duality, which means the macrocosm and the microcosm, or the Paramatma and Jivatma, is one and the same. Everything comes from the Paramatma, and the Jivatma merges back with Paramatma. That is the fundamental elementary definition of Advaita. In Dvaita, they say everything is same, but nothing can merge back to the Paramatma. Purusha is separate, untouched. So there is a subtle difference there. If you want to get into a very technical, detailed discussion, it may take more than just 1 year or 2 years to even understand the differences between the two philosophies. So I attempted to undergo training, formal training in that, in a proper university online. I attended almost about 12 sessions, and I could not repeat one word of any of those sessions. So you can imagine the level of complexity involved in that. And maybe I'm not cut out for Vedanta. That is also a possibility. But you just follow the definition that I'm giving you here and try to anchor it in your system so that it is easy for you to understand. Okay. So when the creation starts, what happens next? What is the first happening?
The sound comes from the Akasha.
Correct. Then
From the sound comes the.
So the Pancha Tanmatras have evolved from that. Shabda, which is hearing, Sparsha, touching, Rupa, sight, Rasa, the taste, and Gandha, the smell. Right? So these are the essence of the Panchabhutas. So before the Panchabhutas are born, the subtle state, which is the Tanmatra, is required. Right? So you have the physical hardware, but there is no operating system or software in a very layman's language. Just having the ear doesn't mean anything. You need to have the capability to hear through the ears. Same way, just having the eyes doesn't make any sense. You need to have the ability to see. In the same way with Svarsha, taste, and smell. So, the Ishvara created subtle entities along with the Antakarana of mind, intellect, and ego, and Chitta is called the Hiranyagarbha. That is the subtle part. And they're all called Mahat Tattva. You remember the term Tattva? So going forward, latch on to this term because I will quickly delve into Tattva Bodha and a very critical aspect of Tattva Bodha, which is Panchikaranam. So Hiranyagarbha or the Mahat Tattva, it's called also Mahat Tattva, is the first creation from Ishvara, who then creates the subtle things. Subtle things are the Panchatanmatra. So just having the operating system, does it help? No, you need the hardware. Correct? So that is where these subtle elements become gross as the Panchabhutas. So when it becomes gross, it's easy for us to perceive. Right? If I say this is a computer, you can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it. But if I tell you there is an operating system behind it, you can't. You just have to believe that there is an operating system. Right? So that part of Ishvara which identifies itself with the gross elements is called Virat. So there are many Upanishads which I will go some other time in detail, which refers to this, where the Hiranyagarbha Upasana is also called as Sambhuti Upasana. For those who are geeky, you can note down. And these are all being described at the cosmic level, not at the individual level. When we talk of Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha and Virat, these are at the cosmic level. So Ishvara is the causal form, Hiranyagarbha the subtle form, Virat is the gross form. So Ishvara is the unmanifested Brahman. It is also called as Avyaktam. There is no individuality in it. Avyaktam. Vyakti, Vyaktam is individuality, attributes. So the world is created by Ishvara, and the creation happens in Hiranyagarbha. That is why the term Hiranyagarbha is very, very important. Whether it is in our form, human form, or you refer to the temple. Again, the way we say the Purusha, the form, is a common term that you'll keep hearing, whether it is a cosmos or a microcosm of the human beings, or even when you're referencing to any temple. We say there is a Garbhagraham in the temple. Again, for those of you who may not know, the Dvajastambham is the feet of the temple. I don't know what it is called in Hindi. The Dvajastambham is that long pole that is there, right? That is the feet of the temple. So everything is in the Purusha form with hands, head, feet, heart, etc. So the three states of Ishvara are mapped into the three states of Jiva as Prajna, which is the causal form, Tejasa, the subtle form, and Vishwa, the gross form. Clear? We talked about it in the previous class. Then the three states we talked about are Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. And the fourth state that we have none of us have experienced or know is the Turiya state. Now these three things are again mapped to Om, A-U-M. So if you see the Om with the Chandra Bindu are representing the three states, 1, 2, 3. And the extension that you see is the reference to the Turiya state. So far so good. So in the Jiva form, Prajna is when it is full of consciousness, which is deep sleep, Ishvara Prajna. Deep sleep, Ishvara Prajna is one who is full of consciousness and knows himself. Dream state, or the Hiranyagarbha, or the Taijasa, or in the waking state, which is Virat and Vishwa. So the waking state is associated with the word A of Omkara. The dream state is associated with the letter U of Omkara. The deep sleep state is associated with the M, the Bindu of Omkara. Beyond all these three is called the Turiya or the Ardhamatra of Omkara. So as the seeker, we do all the techniques of meditation, mantra japam, and all the avenues that we talked about much earlier in the class, is to traverse from the Jagrat state to the Turiya state. We start connecting or resonating with those states. Understand what is happening in those states. So based on all the things that you have heard so far, what happens in the Jagrat state? Do you remember?
Jagrat is we are awake.
What happens?
Our senses are working.
Which means what? You're on the right track, but you now need to get a little detail, right?
Okay. We are in contact with the Panchabhutas.
Right, and then
Perform the karmendriyas.
And vasanas are created.
what is created?
Vasanas or impressions.
Ah, correct. So what happens when the impressions are created?
Karmas.
When the impressions are created, it is stored in the chitta. And the ego or the ahankara associates itself, which makes it as an experience. The intellect is like a reader. The intellect keeps reading it, and you then start forming stories or opinions or conclusions. Right? Just like individual impressions are rushed in a sequence, we what we say is a movie that we watch. So far, so good. No? So, if it is not good, I'll repeat it. If it is okay, then we'll move forward quickly.
Can you just repeat it once? I really feel like a Jameen Chakkar, going round and round.
No problem.
Sorry.
No problem. So, Ishvara, when Maya is attached with Ishvara, you get the Hiranyagarbha, the subtle form. And the subtle form is not going to exist on itself with any purpose. So, converts into the gross form, which is what we call as Virat. Now, all of these definitions are at the cosmic level. The same thing reflects in the human level, right? What is Ishvara there is called Jiva here. Now, let's go to the Jiva state where we have the four states of consciousness: Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, Turiya. Jagrat is the awakened state, Swapna is the dream state, Sushupti is the deep sleep, or what we call as the REM cycle, the deep sleep state. Turiya is something that none of us know. If I had known it, I would not be sitting here and teaching all of you. I would be in the Himalayas or somewhere else. But that is the state that we all aspire to. We always say, it is my experience. It is my experience. We keep saying it. You have your experience when using the Panchabhutas and the Tanmatra, the operating system behind it, you start getting impressions. So I asked a question last time, is that what is happening right now? So your belief is, oh, you are talking and we are listening. That's only a part of the story, because you also have, depending on your environment where you are, if you're in an air conditioned room, you may be feeling cold, somebody may be in the outside feeling hot, somebody may be traveling in a train or a car, they will have mobile senses or noise, other noise. Your system is recording all the time impressions. So what you will remember is based on everything, not just my speaking and your hearing. Correct? And that is how the differences arise. Because when the intellect that you have, or the ego that you have, ahankara, I, that gets attached to all these recorded impressions, your experience is different from Padmaja's and different from Sonalji's. That I is what is creating the difference. Now, all of this thing is stored in the chitta. The intellect is like that CD reader, constantly reads all these impressions, because when you store impressions, you can't say I just store impressions and I'm like a dumb person. Nothing happens. It's not like a CD that is in the library. This is being constantly read with the intellect. Make sense? So far, so good.
Yeah.
So now map all of these things to the individual state of consciousness. All this happens in the Jagrat state. In the Swapna state, you are actually putting every system on standby. You close your eyes, you literally tune off from hearing or listening to anything. You stop speaking. So you don't eat while you're asleep. So you move into the dream state. In the dream state, this processing continues at the subtle level. That doesn't stop. That's why you imagine somebody's coming to hit me, there's some thief coming and stealing something from my house, etc., etc. But once you go into deep sleep, you have no clue what happens to you at that time. Correct? But moment you open your eyes, the alarm rings, wakes you up, instant you catch up from where you left off. You remember what time you went to bed, what happened before you went to sleep, etc., and the story continues. If you're familiar with automobile technology, it is the modern day automobile technology where you don't have to bring your gear to a parking gear. When you stop at a light, the engine stops. As soon as you release your foot from the brake pedal, the engine starts again. Make sense? Was that helpful, Usha?
Yeah.
Okay. So now each of the letters AUM of the Omkara is mapped to those individual state. A to the Jagrat state, U to the Swapna state, M the Bindu to the Sushupti state, and the Ardhamatra is taking it to the Turiya state. So the Virat is said to be the sum total of all the quintuplicated, please write down the term, quintuplicated 5 elements and their effects. Before the end of this class, I will explain what quintuplication means. Virat is the sum total of all the quintuplicated 5 elements and their effects. We already know what the 5 elements are. And this is called the gross body of the Atman or the soul. Waking is that state where the senses gives rise to knowledge of objects. You have knowledge of objects. This is green color. This is big. This is small. This is hot. This is cold. This is spicy. This is sweet. Imagine all those knowledge that you get. So the Atman, which identifies itself with both the waking state and the gross body, the waking state and the gross body is called Vishwa. So these three things, the gross body, the waking state, and the Vishwa, together are represented by the first letter A in Om. The 5 unquintuplicated rudimentary, quintuplicated, unquintuplicated elements and their effect, which is the subtle body, together constitute Hiranyagarbha. Now, I will go slow. You can write it down, and then when I prepare the notes, you will have it there also. The material subtle body has 17 parts. The material subtle body has got 17 parts. The 5 vital forces, the 10 organs of perception and action, the mind and the intellect. So this is the subtle body of the Atman. So when these sense organs are withdrawn, the knowledge which is arising out of the impressions of the waking state and the imaginary objects which are perceived together are called the dream state. Tejasa is the Atman, which identifies with the dream state or the subtle body. What is the equivalent of Tejasa in the awakened state? Prajna. So the subtle body, the dream state, and Tejasa together is represented by the letter U in Om. So when bound up with the reflection of pure consciousness and that which is the cause of both the gross and the subtle bodies is the unmanifested or avyakta, undifferentiated. This is the causal body of the Atman. So Padmaja, again quickly digressing, whenever we talk of Nyasam, we talk of all the three states. Now we are able to imagine all the three. Right? While you are touching, doing the Sparsha and doing the Bijakshara of a particular part, you have to imagine all the three layers of the body. No more you focus only on the physical attributes of human beings. Right? So the causal body is neither existent or non-existent. But it is removable by the knowledge of the identity of the Brahman. So we'll come to that aspect again, revisit a little later. It may be a little confusing at this time. So this causal body and the deep sleep state is called prajna. This is referenced by the last letter in the word Om as M. Now I'm making one more sentence. Capture it. We will revisit it and expand on it as we go deeper. The A, the waking personality, should be resolved into U, the center part, which in turn, the dream personality should resolve itself into M. Now, when you reach this state of absolute identification, is what we call as samadhi or the super conscious state. That is when you make an entry into the turiya state. Now, quintuplicated. Yeah.
So is the causal body, is it when, so where is the causal body? In the Turiya state?
No, deep sleep. Causal body is what we said is in the deep sleep state.
Yes. So Turiya state?
When all of these get resolved into one central point. Just hold it for now. You're trying to understand the abstract through a physical perception of hearing, visualizing, etc. Keep now as you're able to now easily answer some of the questions that I'm asking, right? Once you go through this over and over again, you'll be able to get a much better picture of what we're talking about. Right? Just follow the sequence and the cause and effect part of it. I'll explain what is the term quintuplication means, and then we will take it from there. Now, the five elementary constituents of the universe, they are said to be compounded with one another to form the grosser entities. Right? The five elements, and I've shared a formula in the WhatsApp group much before the class. I hope all of you were able to see it. I will jump to that if you can pull it up in front of you. And for those of you who are weak in math, I will repeat it 4 or 5 times, not just today, in the future classes also. Those who are good in math will be able to catch it very quickly. So pay attention here. Don't think of anything else. Just this formula and see how it works. So Brahman is both the efficient cause and the material cause of the phenomenal world. It is called as Nimitta Karana and Upadana Karana. Do you remember a simile that was used? 3 similes were used in the earlier mantra in Mundaka Upanishad. Oh, she pressed something and she quit.
The spider,
Yes,
the hair, and the seeds.
correct. Correct. Oh, I hope she is able to watch the YouTube and pick it up. So, the interaction of the Supreme Self, the Nirguna Brahman with Maya. She's back. The 3 similes, Sonalji answered. The spider, the trees growing on planet Earth. Anybody remembers the 3rd simile? Allah, forgot. Oh my God. The hair growing from the hair follicle. No, it's okay. Don't feel bad because I have felt like this for many years, not just many weeks, many years. It is not that easy. So, due to the interaction of the self or the supreme self with Maya and the dominant influence of tamas, arose ether. See the sequence. Ether came out of Maya and the power of the dominant aspect of tamas. Ether is also called as space,
Okay.
right? Out of space, air emanated. From the air, fire emanated. And from fire, water emanated. And out of water arose what?
Earth.
Correct. So the 5 tattvas, space, air, fire, water, and earth, are the first subtle elements of creation. Now you will see, I have described this before, in us all these 5 Mahabhutas are reflected. I'll give you one hint. You have the Jal element, you have the Vayu element, right? What is that part of the body that is represented by earth?
So minerals.
Huh?
Minerals.
Bones.
Bones. Yeah. Bone is it's a mineral.
Prithvi.
Yeah.
So, the tamas aspect of each of the 5 elements divides into 2 equal parts. First, you remember that they are divided into 2 equal parts, parts A and part B. Sonalji?
I was just thinking that tamas is like the least active, but it's the one that's starting the whole process.
Yes. So now focus on these 5 elements. They are divided into 2 parts, part A and part B. So part A remains intact and part B gets divided into 4 equal parts. Then to the A part of each element, one part of the B of each of the other 4 elements gets joined. Got it? That is what is called as Panchikarana is complete when this happens. So if you say space, which is subtle, is divided into space subtle and space gross. A and B parts, subtle and gross. So space gross is composed of half space subtle and 1/8 air subtle, 1/8 fire subtle, 1/8 water subtle, and 1/8 of earth subtle. And you can apply the same formula for other elements. I will repeat this again. You are hearing it for the first time. Absorb it, soak it in through the week, and then I will bring it up again in the subsequent classes. Oh, it's already 1 hour. So if I start now, it will take a lot of time. So what I will do is I will pause here with this formula explanation, and I will start with again a summary of all of these things as explained in Tattva Bodha. Again, Tattva Bodha is another, again, a phenomenal product given by Sri Adi Shankaracharya. So, what we are struggling to even understand or remember, imagine before the age of 32, if he has given so many compositions, so many commentaries on so many Upanishads, if there is any doubt in anybody's mind whether he was Avatara of Shankar, the doubt should be removed. Right? So we will go into the Tattva Bodha part of it, and nicely through various shlokas has been. I will not go into the shloka part of it. I'll just give you the explanation so that you are able to now start connecting all the dots. So when we keep talking about from what came what and how these things transferred, at least now you are able to answer somebody's question very intelligently, right? Is it helping or no? Now I'm getting a lot of tense looks.
No, I think we need to go. At least I need to go over this whole thing once again.
That's fine. I'll keep doing it over and over again.
Rather,
Yeah. You missed a couple of classes because of your
classes,
at
so
home.
I'm going in circles. No, I don't want
Yeah.
to do that.
So, Padmaja and Sonalji, are you feeling comfortable now?
Yes.
Padmaja is like, I'm not very sure. At the beginning of the class, I was, but now maybe. Right. No, you are getting it. I mean, don't keep thinking that it is difficult and you won't get it. The way you answer the question spot on means you are able to understand and follow. Uh, don't be in a hurry to say, I know everything. I can now start giving a discourse. It's not that easy. So, as you must have seen, I keep notes and I talk from the notes because at the end of the day, if you're not into this business of upanyasam and doing it day in and day out as a profession, it's not easy for you to memorize things. I always have one belief in my life. When you are in the business of teaching, you better make sure that what you teach is right. It's not your memory test, it's your knowledge test. So you don't need to memorize all of these things to give answers. You can have your own way of keeping notes, and you can keep the document in front of you to remember what is being talked about. And certain things, when you start practicing over and over again, automatically becomes part of your memory. And that's when things fall in place, right? So one final question for before we wrap up. What is that word that differentiates the three states on one side and the Turiya state on the other side? The clue is the correct. You hit the nail again.
Probably last time's lecture.
No, which is fine, no. But at least see that is how you remember, right? You just repeat it over and over again. You'll get quickly to the point. In the three states, we always say it's my experience. Huh?
No, in this I have a doubt that realization comes with knowledge or just the raising of the Kundalini.
The key fact is raising of the Kundalini.
Okay. So that's more of a physical thing then.
No, it's the outcome of the raising of Kundalini. It's not a physical thing. Kundalini is not physical. Kundalini is not physical.
Yeah, I thought it is
There's no packet
or something that is in the.
Yeah, but it's an energy center, right? It's a packet of
Yes.
energy, just energy.
Yes.
Through the energy pathways.
So energy.
So there is no physical object that you're moving in from the base of your body to
So
the
the energy is also material, no kind of thing.
Where? Can you see energy?
No,
Formless.
Formless.
Formless energy.
Ah. So when there is no form, there is nothing physical, right? If I tell you ear, you can describe this is my ear, this is how it looks, this is how big it is, this is the size, dimensions, color, texture, etc. Energy you can't.
But still, like sound energy, whatever it is there and it is changed into another form of energy.
It is perceived. I don't think we can touch it or.
Yeah, but it is perceived. No?
So there's a lot of difference between perceived and actual see, no?
And we really can't see the energy raising from one center to another.
We can't.
It's something that probably people experience.